Afternoon, everyone. For the record, this meeting agenda was posted to the Secretary of State's website and our website on Friday, the 25th at 10:38 a.m. Roll call. Hidalgo County,
Present.
City of Brownsville, Cameron County, City of McAllen, City of Edinburgh, City of Mission, City of Harlingen, City of FAR, Starr County, City of San Benito, Cameron County RMA, Hidalgo County RMA, Valley Metro, TxDOT, FAR District. Present. Quorum. Thank you.
Oh, perfect attendance. Good job. Item number 3, public comments. None? All right, just want to make just a general welcome to our new executive director, Mr. Michael Medina. Welcome aboard. And we, as a policy board and everybody that's invested here in transportation, not just who's represented at this table, but on behalf of all of us, we look forward to working with you. Thank you for accepting the challenge. And again, another big thank you to Luis for holding down the fort for the last year. But welcome aboard, sir. We look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I just want to let the board know is that in an earlier meeting, I was asked, actually, I announced myself as a new guy and I'm looking for potholes. So I think my phone is going to be blowing up relatively soon.
Literal potholes, huh? Good choice of words. All right, yeah, go ahead and put his phone number up here. Item number 4, action and discussion items. Agenda item A, approval of the minutes for September 25th, 2024. The meeting minutes were included in your package. Are there any corrections or modifications? Yeah. You mind turning on your mic?
Thank you, Chairman. Just on the textile representation, I was here and then the proxy was Rex Costley.
Any other changes or modifications? There being none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve minutes as presented and corrected by Mr. Alvarez.
Thank you. Starr County. Second by Cameron County RMA. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Item B, approval of the 2024 RGVMPO congestion management process. Ms. Clarissa Gonzalez.
Good afternoon, policy board members, and a special welcome to our new executive director. Jumping right in, I am bringing forward an action item 5B for the approval of the 2024 congestion management process, or CMP. To give some context and a brief background on this planning effort, the development of the CMP is identified as a federal requirement for MPOs with populations larger than 200,000 in CFR Title 23, Part 450.322. MPOs of our size are to maintain and update a CMP periodically and provide it to decision makers and the public as a level of guidance for the selection of effective strategies aimed at improving congestion. This is one way to integrate performance-based planning and programming approach with national performance measures into our planning process. For milestones, in January 24, staff began producing this first draft. In spring, a couple of CMP subcommittee meetings were held to gather coordinated input on every step of the CMP. A major thank you to those who have participated. In August, we presented the first draft to the Technical Advisory Committee and the Policy Board, and then we spent some time incorporating feedback from FHWA and FTA, and now in October, we returned with the final draft to TAC on the 10th, where it was passed. Some notable amendments that were added to the first draft and reflected in the final draft here included is the addition of language that promotes the use of public transportation. By analyzing ridership trends that are shared here quarterly, we can better understand the operational and capital needs of our transit providers for future transit tip programming. As for the inclusion of the implementation schedules and project prioritization, the approach taken in this update was to identify projects that are already programmed with federal funding sources, namely CAT 7, 9, and 10, as well as FTA grants that are in our current tip, and and are expected to mitigate congestion according to performance measures. The performance measures that are directly applicable to congestion are PM3 for system reliability, for more reliable commute times, and PM1 system safety to reduce non-recurring congestion caused by collisions. Another aspect of the congestion management process is that for the 2050 MTP, the consultants do plan to include information from the CMP as mentioned in the resolution 2024-18, and also tie in performance measures with project prioritization. A timeline of events to expect as it relates to CMP is that after it is adopted, this will be the topic of discussion during the FTA FHWA certification review on December 5th from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Prior to that, in November, I'm proud to share that the FHWA representative that we've been coordinating with on the CMP thinks we did a good job documenting the 8-step process. So we're invited to speak to all the Texas MPOs at an MTP roundtable discussion, which is reassuring for the board's approval today. For the following years, we plan to continue monitoring the system, maintaining data, and documenting improvements as projects become open to traffic in time for the adoption of the next 27 to 2030 TIP and the future 2055 MTP by way of technical reports with a more robust, regionally significant corridor level analysis.
Larissa, real quick,
Yes.
where will this meeting take place?
The certification review,
The one on December 5th.
that is here in this board room.
It's going to be in this board.
Yes.
Thank you.
And yeah, so we plan to continue learning from best practices for low cost, low impact improvement to the transportation network, and also identify where new and unacceptable levels of congestion arise due to travel demands, and communicating that with our planning partners and the responsible entities to ultimately have a steadier, more reliable flow of traffic. So with that, I welcome any comments for this action item.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Go ahead, sir.
One of the things I like to just communicate to the board and to the public is that this is a planning document. And in this planning document, the ideal situation here is for us to identify strategies that identify congestion and the opportunity for us to move forward and implement these type of projects into the long range and the short range plan. So essentially, it's a very important document because the federal partners will look at this document and look at the strategies that are being developed that move forward in addressing congestion. So every project that comes before this policy board, the CMP has to be identifying that set strategy. So for example, it's a very broad case. We can talk about ITS, information and technology. And so we identify certain things of that nature for intersection control, for example. That is a way to alleviate congestion. So I just wanted to make that statement.
Precisely, yes.
Anything else?
Nope.
Any further questions? Any comments? Okay, so this is an action item, so we'll need to take some action. I'll entertain a motion. Motion by TxDOT, second by City of Edinburgh. Any further discussion? There being none, all in favor say aye. Post same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Clarissa. Item C, discussion and action on November 2024 statewide transportation improvement plan, STIP revision cycle. Mr. Zamora.
Thank you, Chairman, and good afternoon to all of our board members. I'd like to note that public involvement was completed on October the 9th. The Technical Advisory Committee approved our revisions for November on October the 10th. And we have a summary sheet included in your packet. The full revisions will require federal approval. We've been notified the earliest approval date would be December 24th. Pending, of course, the holidays, it may lead into maybe the first week of January is what we've understood. I would like to know within the summary sheet, there are two particular projects that we brought up to the advisory committee that were submitted by the city of McAllen. Benson Road and Olana Loop have both requested additional Category 7 funds. We were notified that these projects can let in fiscal year 2027 and will be seeking funding within the next 12 to 15 months. We were also notified by the Cameron County RMA that Dana Road would like to request to move into the TIP. Because of fiscal constraint issues and where we're at in programming, in our current tip years in fiscal years 27 and 28. We would have to identify some projects that may have to move outside the tip in order for projects like Dana to move in, and also to find ways to fund shortfalls for those projects that require additional funding. So on the staff side, what we're going to try to do is continue working with our planning partners, working with our advisory committee, working through project readiness meetings, and of course, bringing results back to this board between now and the next revision cycle to see what we can do for funding shortfalls like for these projects and projects that need to move into the tip. So just three projects that I wanted to mention that were included on this summary sheet. And also at this time would like to address any questions or concerns regarding other projects that are included during the November revision cycle. There are three new projects that are being added that I think are important to mention. The International Bridge Trade Corridor now exists, the three projects that are listed here. This is State Highway 68, SS 81, and FM 3072. These are going to be the new projects that are now going to replace the original International Bridge Trade Corridor. So I also wanted to mention that. And these projects have been funded, and these revisions were submitted by TxDOT for our district. But
So-
going back, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so it looked like there was some recategorization of 2028 monies.
In
Uh,
fiscal
it-
year 2028 now is all three phases, yes, sir.
Okay, so phases of the same project?
Of
Because
the
it
same
looked like the
project
limits
segmented into
changed.
three now, correct?
So
And they're
the
all
lim-
construction phases.
Now, in a prior rendition of this, there was $20 million assigned, and then looked like another 20 million were assigned. Can you just explain where that additional funding came from?
These additional funds, or the way that this project was broken up, did come from an update from TxDOT. They provide us with the funding information, and that's the information that I have for you today. I don't know if Mr. Alvarez can enlighten us on any additional, or if not, we can inquire with the district regarding any changes in funding or updates.
So I guess the question would be why category 7 monies that were assigned to this? Because it looked like we previously had 20 million, and now it looks like 40 million is assigned to do two different phases of the same project, which is fine. I mean, I think we all support that project, and we have in the past, just like we were requested last year. But where did the additional 20 million in the tip come from?
So this project, really what we're doing is bringing it from an off system to on system. The funding all remained the same. Those funds had previously been approved by this policy board. So there are no additional or new funds. The only thing we're doing is, it used to be an off system CSJ. Now we're bringing it to on system CSJ, and there's three segments on that project. So there's no additional new funding. 20 million have previously been approved by this policy board.
Where was it assigned to? Because I didn't see that. I saw the 20 million we had done to the IBTC last cycle, because I think the Cameron County did something on the loop that they had over there as well. But because in the schedule that I saw, there were two $20 million allocations, right? That's what is there.
It's hard to read. It's kind of small.
We zoom
What is
into the summary sheet, please.
So there's various funding categories. There was, as far as the 20 million are concerned, as far as these projects, Rider 11B is 20 million. Category 7 is 20 million. Category 2 is 20 million. So those were previously approved. So when it comes to MPO funding, just category 7 off system typically for this MPO, and category 2 is MPO fund, federal funds on system.
Right.
So the category 2, 20 million was previously approved.
The 20. I've got a couple of questions, and I'll just follow up on Commissioner Fuentes. We'll stick to this for now. The 20 million you're saying was already in there,
Yes,
and the rationale you're giving us today is that this is going from an off system to an on system?
yes, that's correct.
Did we receive any notification that you were going to do this? I mean, that's great, but don't you normally let us know? Because from my perspective, it looks like you're taking our MPO monies and using it. Now you're going to say it's on system, so therefore you're going to use it for state road, even though it's not a state road yet.
So This all came about in August of 2023 when the minute order was passed by TxDOT Commission to bring IBTC from an off-system roadway to an on-system roadway.
Okay,
We're going through the process. It takes time to get all the paperwork ready and what have you, working with the TxDOT administration, FHWA, and others. And so this is just to clean up the books, as they say,
all right,
to bring it on system.
all right. Well, then let me ask this then. In fiscal year 2024, the UTP was approximately 150 million for the I-69 connector. And in fiscal 25, it was lowered to 65 million. Difference of approximately 84, 85 million. Where did that money get allocated to?
It did not. And so when we look at our funding constraints, we have to be within that constraint. We looked at all projects in the region. We prioritize projects that are shovel ready. Those go up to the top of the list, if you will. We had a funding constraint, and therefore we could not over program. In order for us to be able to keep the projects in play, we had to reduce the funding availability.
Okay. So if I'm not mistaken, where's Eva? Eva's been on our case, and rightly so, reminding us that if we don't spend what's already been allocated, I think it's 63 million, we're in danger of losing those funds. Right? Well, so on my next question is some of our projects in Cameron County, you've moved forward years. The concern is, how do we know that, or maybe we're being a little troubled, but how do we know that that money, that 63 million approximately, isn't, how are we going to be able to get it back? We've been told to make sure we have it funded, make sure that it's committed. Now we've under the UTP, we've lost some of the funding, both valley-wide MPO. How do we make sure that those projects that you're moving into later years, we're able to get them back if they're funded right now, or they're part of the UTP now?
So there are a lot of moving parts. There are projects that had previously been 100% funded due to cost of doing business. Those estimates have increased. We basically had to take monies from one project to supplement and make the projects that are shovel ready or will be going to construction in the next year or two, we have to make them whole. So we have to take monies that are available to us within our allocation to make those projects that are closer to going to construction 100% funded. So that's what we have done. In the future, as monies become available, we as a TxDOT are going to be recommending to the MPO, these are the projects that we feel are shovel ready, have the highest priority, and we will ask for your blessing, if you will, to put monies onto those projects. This MPO has been functioning under the premise that we will push forward projects that are shovel ready first. And that's what we're trying to do here. And we're trying to supplement the shortfalls on previously approved UTPs, right? We had monies allocated back then, but the cost or the estimates have increased. We have to supplement those. So we're having to borrow from projects that are further out that are not yet ready to go to construction to make the current projects 100% funded.
Okay.
As far as the IBTC projects, our goal is to let these projects in 2026. We have already environmental clearance. Hidalgo County RMA provided all that information. We approved. We're currently working on the PS&E to get this right away in utilities. And our goal is 2026 to have the project go to construction.
We met you, I think you were there. I know staff was there about the FM 1732 project. And you even stressed the importance of that particular project. It was at 25.2 million for fiscal 2024, and now it's at 7.4. That project is urgently needed, and I remember you indicating that to me. So where did that 17 million go, and how do we make sure that this doesn't delay the project that we were trying to have shovel ready?
So,
And then my next point is, was this discussed at the TAC meeting? These little changes.
I defer to the MPO.
Yes, sir, if I may.
Before you answer that,
No,
I
go
want
ahead.
to say that in Amendment 13, these were not, that those numbers changed from the prior amendment presentation that we were given. I don't happen to have that on me, but I remember looking at it and comparing between 13 and 14, and this is different. So I would appreciate an answer to that question because I don't remember getting an update from the TAC or from our representative that this was discussed with that board.
For Amendment 14, the one that we're
changes that
approving
were made
today,
in 14, yeah.
the revisions that were received from the FAR district on these on-system projects did go before the Technical Advisory Committee.
Sure.
So it would be a draft of amendment number 14 that was produced, yes. As well as the tip sheets. So for projects within the tip, like this one here, Fern, if you could navigate for me or help me through fiscal year 28 of Hidalgo County. For the tip sheets, we have the financial breakdown, and the draft of both the MTP and tip did go before the advisory committee.
And I
it
would
was-
say, because I'm going to respond to a comment that Pete said, which is, we want to update them to make sure they're fully funded. Well, there's a lot of projects that are not fully funded that are in the tip and that need that kind of support. So it's imperative upon us as local officials to get those Category 7 projects in the ground and look for the funding to make them whole, the same way that you're trying to, or the TxDOT wants to on the IBTC. So I appreciate that you're saying that, but it's got to be reciprocated to us at the local level as well, because there's projects that are short and we need that kind of funding to get it to construction. The way Judge Trevino is mentioning on behalf of Cameron County. And I say echo the same comment.
And that's why I started off with the I-69. That's a big chunk of change for all of us.
Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah.
So when was the TAC meeting? Last week?
No, that was on October 10th, Judge.
Okay, and so you're saying that these changes and revisions were discussed and mentioned and,
Approved.
Yes, they were on the summary sheet included. We received some additional administrative changes, projects moving from fiscal years, but as far as full revisions, they have to go across the TAC first and then for public involvement as well.
well, the only other question or point I would ask, Mr. Chairman, is maybe we could have another meeting. Are we having a meeting in November or not because of Thanksgiving? We weren't.
I don't think we're scheduled to have. a
We're not
meeting in
scheduled.
November.
I mean,
No.
I would suggest for the board's consideration, maybe having a special meeting to specifically address these issues and questions that we have.
So, hold on, before we make any formal motions or anything
No,
like that.
yeah, I'm just bringing it up.
Yeah. Is this a time sensitive issue? Yes. What's the deadline?
We need to have a resolution, if I may, Chairman, by today in order to upload by Friday for the ESTIP portal. That's the timeline that's been given to us by the state for this revision cycle. We will have another revision cycle in February of next year, so we'll be preparing for that as soon as December and going through public involvement through the month of January.
Mayor Mission? Yes. Yeah, but he's saying they have a deadline for Friday.
For this revision cycle, yes, for the November revision cycle, if something was in need of change between now and February, if that was the case, and this board chose to approve things different from what it looks like today, February would be our next possible chance to do
So there are still opportunities.
Yes, sir. We're still working on this tip, yes.
So is your recommendation then to approve this as presented then?
It was approved at the TAC.
Judge? I mean, we're kind of in a situation where we have to take some action here. Friday,
Today.
November 1st. Today to put it in by.
For the resolution that's required to upload to the STIP portal.
And what,
Can that be revised later?
Yes.
I mean, can we put it in?
For the next revision cycle, yes, ma'am, it can
Would
be.
when?
February. February would be the submittal, but we'll begin working on that as soon as December and bring that back to the board as early as January and go through public involvement during
Okay.
January as well.
The recommendation be to approve as presented, but with the mindset and thought that we're gonna look at it before December.
I think there would be an understanding.
To
that there
possibly
would be some-
reevaluate if necessary.
Eva, you have something?
Just wanted to say that this funding that they're talking about is for fiscal year 28, not for fiscal.
It is for
25.
fiscal year 28, but as Mr. Alvarez just suggested, that it's possible that these projects may let in fiscal year 26. That's the goal. They are in the tip. They can accelerate at any time.
So as the mayor was stating, should we approve this today? And that would be my recommendation as well. We approve it, and if there's any changes that are needed between now and February, well, then we can discuss it the next policy and not be rushed to that decision. The right thing to do is meet the deadline, get these projects in the mill, and if we need to go back and revisit some of these projects and look at funding, whether it's on system or off system, I think we have an obligation, because there are projects that are currently off system that I've gotten calls for as far as, we need funding for this. And it's like, well, let's work with the MPO, because there's some projects in category 7 that are currently funded. There's no way they're going to be able to be led in the next 4 or 5 years. But there's projects that are in out 4 or 5 years that could be accelerated. So it's a matter of this policy board making those tough decisions. What projects are the highest priority that can be delivered sooner? We will have every 3 to 4 months, we have an opportunity to go back and update the tip.
I don't think there's any argument about that. I think that a couple of us at least hadn't seen these changes until this cycle and felt like it was a little bit caught off guard with respect to the changes that were being recommended. On system being category 2, it's coming out of category 7. It was just kind of confusing the way it's been presented here. And the timeliness of it just didn't kind of seemed a little off.
May I make a suggestion? Since these revisions have an impact on all of us individually and collectively, perhaps having the TxDOT district director and his staff reach out to us when you're going to make such drastic changes to explain why you've taken away $1,050,000 or whatever. I don't think that's too much to ask, especially considering the amount of money that you don't seem as concerned about it, Pete, as I do, or I think some of us are, and maybe we're wrong to be overly concerned, but I think it's a valid issue to raise, considering that there seems to have been lack of or miscommunications in the past, and I've been hopeful that that would stop and we would not continue to have those miscommunications going forward. All of us want our projects to move forward. All of us are ready to make sure that if there's a shovel-ready project, whether it's in my area or in Hidalgo or wherever, that we get those taken care of and addressed. We're all on the same page on that. But once we start making plans and we're making these short and long-term commitments, both through the MPO and through TxDOT, to have, from at least from my perspective, overnight, have all these revisions change with a lot of money at stake, where it had been counted on as we're moving our projects forward. And I would let Pete address if I'm wrong on any of this. I just think it's something that, needs to be addressed. And Michael, welcome to your first meeting. But and I think Commissioner said challenge. I said I was going to say it's an opportunity to try to be more positive, but we have some work to do, and the need is great for all of us. We need all of these projects funded, and but we need to have good communication and understanding. And if I'm wrong in any of my assessments, Pete, correct me, but I think we need to do better, especially with so much at stake.
There's always room for improvement when it comes to communication. I would remind everybody that these changes that we're proposing were part of the 2025 UTP update that was approved by TxDOT Commission at the end of August. So we're just trying to basically update this information on the tip. We typically communicate with staff, but I agree with you, Judge. I personally will do a better job in communicating with the elected officials to ensure that they understand, or if they haven't provided an opportunity to have a question and answer session, if you will, as far as the projects that are being affected in their areas.
Any other comments? So obviously, with the consideration of the time constraints that we have, I'll entertain a motion based on the recommendation of staff.
So moved.
Motion by TxDOT, second by City McAllen. Any further discussion? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item D, out-of-state travel 2025 Transportation Research Board Conference, Washington, DC, January 5th through the 9th, 2025. Mr. Medina.
Mr. Chair and board members, this is an annual conference, as I like to coin the Super Bowl of the transportation planning conferences that are held throughout the United States. This conference obviously is held in Washington, DC, and it does attract a lot of international and, of course, domestic transportation professionals. They are everything from transportation planning, policy development, and of course, transportation engineering. And the request here before you is for us to attend the conference in DC. We do have a handful of new planners, and the idea here is to acclimate them into the new world of transportation planning.
Assuming that it's being presented, do you have the budget to accommodate this?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Any questions, comments? There being none, I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Motion by Cameron County, second, well, it was a tie over there, but I'll give it to the Gal County RMA. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye. Post same sign. Motion carries. I wear a size extra large if you feel inclined to bring some sort of souvenir T-shirt. You go, Pete. Whoever's winning. Thank you. Item 5 or section 5 presentations and report, A, discussion on current RGVMPO chairperson term. So thank you. I asked for this agenda item to be placed on the agenda, and just to give you a little bit of background, really short. Hidalgo County has a rotation understanding about representation on the MPO. At the time that I was transitioning into the chairmanship, it was almost time for me to rotate out, but asked Commissioner Torres, Commissioner from Precinct 2, to allow me to stay on board so that we could, we had just gotten news of Andrew leaving, and we're transitioning into the new budget cycle. So asked for consideration of allowing her, using part of her term, to stay on this board and lead the team for the, forever, however long I could. And it's come to the point where I need to rotate off. And I know that because of my chairmanship position, there's some consideration with respect to policy. So I asked for Luis at the time, and now Mr. Medina, to give us some direction on as to how that whole process starts. Now, that's not today. That'll be it'll be probably effective in the next meeting. Hidalgo County will submit their formal letter as far as representation and proxies and all that such. So I just wanted to provide the background as to why this is happening. And at this particular time, now that Mr. Medina is here, and now that we're starting the new cycle, it seemed like the right time to go ahead and make this change. I'll let them differ as to how this whole transition takes place, and I think some people have been informed as to how it might happen. I don't know if that's a discussion for today, but this is Pepe Caso, our legal counsel.
Good afternoon, Chairman, board members. So that's correct. We went pretty deep into the bylaws of the RGVMPO, and ultimately there's a guiding principle that the chair position must alternate between Hidalgo County and Cameron County for 2-year cycles. And Commissioner is going to be stepping down at this point. Commissioner Fuentes leaving about 10 or 11 months left of Hidalgo County's 2-year cycle allocation. And so the proper procedure is going to be for the executive director under section 2.03 and 2.05 of the bylaws to call a special election at the next board meeting. So somebody from Hidalgo County can fill the chair position and complete that allocation around September or October 2025, which is the end of the RGVMPO fiscal cycle, at which time Mayor Cowan, who's the vice chair, will be succeeding the chair when the chair's term is complete under section 2.03 of the bylaws.
Right. So I think that simplify that for everybody. I think in December, you'll have an election to fill the unexpired term of Hidalgo County. It could be Hidalgo County, which would make sense, but I'll leave that to you as a policy board to decide. But this was really just to provide you the information, background as to why we'll be rotating off, and so that you'll welcome Commissioner Torres into the policy board. in December. And on a personal note, I just want to thank you for entrusting me, not only as a vice chair and then transitioning here, but it's been an honor serving here on the MPO with all of you. I feel like I've created some really great relationships and hopefully made a difference in a positive way. And I just want to thank you all for your leadership, your support, your friendship throughout these last few years. And I'll be watching from the sidelines, and I'll still be around. So thank you very much for allowing me to serve on this policy board with you guys. Thank you. It's been an honor.
What does Coach Corso say? Not so fast, young man. Mr. Chairman, I just want to make sure, I haven't looked at the bylaws. I'm going by memory. But I think the way you just explained it, I thought it didn't create for this possibility, but it sounds like it kind of does. Okay, so do we need to amend the bylaws? Just, I mean, I don't think there's any objection to having Hidalgo County continue. I just want to make sure that we, if it needs clarification, then let's make sure that the bylaws are clarified, unless you think that as currently written, what we're going to do is absolutely A-okay and don't need to address it.
Yes, Judge, I believe that it's correct the way it is right now. We could provide, you know, an amendment to that and a couple of other provisions, but the way it is now, that's once you read sections 1.05, 2.01, 2.02, 2.03, and 2.05, read them all together, that's just the way it has to be. There's a lot of provisions, for example, saying that the vice chair must alternate between the counties at the end of 2-year terms, and also that the vice chair cannot become the chair until the chair's term is complete. And then it references the 2 years, but yeah, there's always room for clarification. I think at the annual meeting, that may be a good opportunity to get input from everybody on some potential improvements.
Look, we're all elected officials here for the most part. And there's going to be some transition of leadership at some point in time, whether it's now or in the future. You could have, I know over there you're good, but over here in Hidalgo County, it's a little more volatile. So
We all have term limits, Mayor. They're called elections.
exactly. So I just think that at some point in time, whether it's this position or, you know, obviously the chair and the vice chair are more sensitive to it, but there's always going to be some transition of leadership here because of elections. So I think it makes sense to have some policy considerations in the future, for clarification purposes. I think all of us are capable of leading this organization. There's a lot of talent here at this table. So I'm sure whatever you guys figure out in the future, leave that to Commissioner Torres to figure out. Good luck, Commish. But yes, I think that there needs to be some, maybe some clarification about that.
Yes.
Mayor, the only point I would make is that it was very clear when we were doing the draft, that the point was to have the chairs 2 years. That's why I want to, yeah, exactly. And that's why I understand now how we're doing it, and I know what the intent was. I just wasn't sure if the bylaws set it out. Yeah.
And I'll agree with the judge. I think a lot of us were part of the, you know, at least the creation process from the outside or within. And so right now we're blessed that a lot of the creators of the organization are here in this room with us. But in 10 or 20 years, that may not be the case. So then at that point, either we need to document our intent or amend the bylaws just to make it straightforward for the purposes of the future generations.
So again, I apologize for any confusion.
I think it's important that we address the fact that I think the detail would be caught on the individual and not and the agency. I think that's where the confusion is coming in, because I know that the agency can be represented, but the individual can't vote or do whatever the proxy is, and those are the details I think we need to refine.
So Commissioner Torres, you mind standing up over there just so everybody knows that you'll be coming in this next cycle? Any other comments? There wasn't any action on this. It was just information, but I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. 5B, presentation and discussion regarding the transportation alternative set aside, TASA, also known as Category 9 program. Ms. Garcia.
Yes, good afternoon. Here to give you another update on some of the projects and then announce our next call for projects. For anyone who may be new in the room or hasn't attended a meeting in a little bit, we like to give our updates on all of our funded and program projects. There tend to be groups in terms of how we fund our projects. So there was a call for projects back when, and the 2019, 2020 are what I call our list of inherited projects. These are all projects that have successfully obligated their funds and should be currently in the reimbursement phase, collecting those federal funds through the regular reimbursement process. And the projects from 21 to 22 are currently in the obligation phase. They should be developing their 30, 60, 90 design, getting their environmental clearance and developing bid documents to procure services if they're a construction project. And then for 23 and 24, these are projects that were programmed recently and should have executed AFAs or have been working towards AFAs. So with that said, the reimbursement phase projects, we do have some updates. All projects in this list have successfully obligated their funds and have received FPAAs. However, I know the PSJA Tri-City project is not rebidding. They're actually currently pending to award their contract. I know we talked about shortfalls with Category 7. I know this project is currently have some shortfalls in funding. And the same with the El Mito and Las Palmas project. They are actually getting ready to let their project for the third time. They just announced some advertising dates. So just wanted to communicate how either having insufficient funds or kind of the process and the challenges in getting those reimbursements secured through the process. But that is the update on these projects. The projects currently in the obligation phase from fiscal years funded with fiscal years 21 and 22 are all moving forward. We know that ELSA and Arroyo, Colorado, the ELSA Getting Connected and Arroyo, Colorado are both studies or plans. And so they're currently getting their FRP, their pending approval through the state. Of course, they have to follow the CFR codes, the Code of Federal Regulations. And so TxDOT is providing those approvals for them to procure those services for those studies. The other projects that we have for construction are Edinburgh's Freddy Gonzalez Trail. I do have here that they're pending environmental clearance. However, I found out yesterday that they have received environmental clearance. I know that there's still some irrigation work going on there, but they have submitted some 60% design. I think they're trying to get ready for 75%, but because of that irrigation work, I know the surveying isn't 100% accurate, and we'll have some changes. So that's under development. And then, Brownsville is doing really well. They've already are moving on their 90% and they have environmental clearance. Port Isabel, however, is pending their 30% PS&E and environmental clearance. I know there were some challenges with procuring services, but that is the project that I'm currently most concerned with. And if you kind of understand the timeline, the schedule of activities we've provided, again, we set a deadline of March 2024 for any funding or project changes because of the AFA amendment process and how long that takes. So really, all projects should be needing to get ready for a May letting. And so they have to have 100% of their plans, their bid documents, and those final project certifications to be ready to let. And we have a hard deadline of May in order to go through the process of securing the FPAA and that SLOA, the state letter of authority. And if they do not obligate these funds in fiscal year 25, then the funds will expire by October of next year. And we lose as a region if that occurs. So the next group are the program phase. And because these projects were awarded in October of 2023, they've had about a year to secure their AFAs or advanced funding agreements. We are showing that almost all of our projects do have fully executed agreements. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mission or Edinburgh, last week we finalized the packet and we still did not have the fully executed AFAs. Okay, so those are the two projects that we know are still pending those agreements. And we did have a deadline of October 24 for those AFAs. January 25 for our members' consideration will be the final consideration timeline for any funding or project changes, again, to accommodate any AFA amendments that may be required. All projects should be working towards a letting in fiscal year 26 or fiscal year 27, because if they're not ready before fiscal year 28, those funds again will expire, will lapse. So we're getting ready for a new program call. And again, we just kind of went through it. It's the bipartisan infrastructure law that apportions funds to the states, and we have to follow those code of federal regulations. The allocation is determined through the Unified Transportation Program that TxDOT develops, and we have to follow the Texas Administrative Code. And now we're here currently in the programming. We'll do a call for projects. We do have a competitive process required by the feds, and in order to kind of meet these requirements, we announce our call for projects. We have our website available with all related materials. We will have in federal funding $9,288,425. The call will open this Friday, November 1st. We have a technical assistance request deadline of December 23rd for any community that may need help answering questions or developing maps or routes, backup documentation as needed. The project proposal deadline is January 31st. We have a lot of resources on our website to help with this. But as a reminder, all Category 9 or Transportation Alternative Program funds must be related to bicycle, pedestrian, or micromobility modes. They should be principally for transportation rather than recreation. A direct relationship to the surface transportation system, benefit to the general public and publicly accessible. Some examples of this type of infrastructure include shared use paths and side paths, which can also be called trails, raised bicycle lanes or separated lanes, and then regular bike lanes or buffered lanes. There is some TxDOT guidance on bicycle accommodations if you'd like to reference that for your application. And again, it's a competitive process, and federally we're required to get the feedback from our region. So we had 3 working group meetings to solicit feedback, and this is how we developed the $9 million budget. This actually reflects 3 years of fiscal year allocations. So the total that you see up there is $11,610,000 because it includes the 20% local match. And so the federal amount is just the 9.288 million. But again, we solicited that feedback from our partners, from you all, anyone who was in attendance. We asked for general feedback. We know that they wanted examples of previously awarded funds, and our new staff, Shayna, has helped us develop an appendix for reflecting what those projects are, how much was awarded. And then we got some other ideas in comments, specifically about the application and what needs work. And we talked additionally, we added part of the scoring criteria to include resiliency features. And so replacing aging infrastructure was one of the big the responses that we got was that, we wanted to score and I guess incentivize replacing aging infrastructure as part of this program. Also, the use of permeable surface materials came out second. I thought that was, would be very helpful for River Delta area and how we don't have elevation for flooding. But project readiness, they wanted us to score that highest, with resiliency and safety second, then connectivity and equity. We also asked specifically for planning projects that may not have project readiness. The feedback from our members was that they should include not applicable for the planning project. So that was incorporated into this call for projects. And then we got feedback again on the draft scoring criteria. A defined process for environmental approval was part of the assurance scoring criteria here. So we get a lot of comments, and Melanie and I review them. And so this is a reflection of that feedback. Again, you see that planning shows NA as far as scores that can be received for project readiness. But for construction projects, it would be 40% of your total evaluation or score. And so this helps you understand how to develop a competitive application for this funding amount. And so I encourage you to look into it. We also provide description and factors. We describe the evaluation method and any details as in response to your evaluation details are like, is this going to be part of what you submitted in your application? Or will the RGVMPO staff do GIS analysis so that it's consistent across all applicants? But to kind of go over the big process, we're going to have a 3-month call for projects. It'll stay open for 3 months. We know it's over the holidays, so please reach out to us if you'd like to set up appointments for consultation. We'll have a month for RGVMPO staff and FAR district staff to review these applications for eligibility and to provide any clarification that may be needed for our evaluators. And then we'll have a special meeting. The evaluators will have a special meeting likely in April with the Technical Advisory Committee and the Policy Board officially awarding funds to program in May. And so as part of this development milestone, if your project is selected, we would want to require that all advanced funding agreements be executed by October of 26 and follow the kind of same schedule of activities or project development milestones that the other groups of funding follow. Because again, funding does lapse, and we want those FPAAs, those Federal Project Authorization Agreements, so that you can successfully proceed with your project and then start submitting those reimbursement requests. If you'd like more information on this, Melanie and I will be hosting a workshop on November 1st at 1:30 p.m. You can find this on our calendar online, rgvmpo.org. The link to attend the meeting is there. You can also email me if you'd like a calendar invite. We'll have the same content repeated at a second workshop in November 13th, and they will be recorded so that we can post on our website in the event that your team is not able to attend either workshop. And then again, this is the big overall picture. We'll open November 1st. We have those 2 workshops. Please request your technical assistance. And then the deadline is January 31st for all of that. Are there any questions on the Category 9 Transportation Alternative Program? This is informational.
Any questions? Okay, thank you very much. If there being none, we'll move on to item C, presentation and discussion regarding the RGVMPO's project prioritization process for metro mobility and rehab funds.
Category 7.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So as we kind of alluded in Rudy's item of the tip revision cycle, excuse me, we've been monitoring this 200% threshold. And as I mentioned to you all last meeting, September 10th, we had a meeting with the Fin Division. The MPO has since been invited to another meeting December 10th. We're thinking, Judge, that this is when they'll make the decision about the potential impact of this TAC rule change. We know that the other MPOs that are potentially impacted by this are also invited to the same meeting. So it's not just a one-on-one with the RGV MPO anymore. And so, yeah, we'll see what the at-risk MPOs are told at the December 10th meeting, but we know we have about 30 million potential subject to the TAC rule. And our carryover as well became 95.5 million. So to reiterate, we need to obligate $63 million in 25, assuming that those funds aren't going to be transferred this year. But we don't know that yet. And we'll find out more and we'll report, of course, back to the board. But we've done a couple of, we've talked about this at the last meeting. Are projects sufficiently funded? Does our project prioritization process reflect the regional strategy, the regional priorities? And how do we get there with the new 2050 MTP? And so we did a couple of Mentimeter surveys at the Project Readiness and the Transportation Policy Board. And the number one on both responses in transportation and in Project Readiness, at the Policy Board and in Project Readiness, was number one is to improve the quality of life and promote consistency between transportation improvements and planned growth, housing, and economic development patterns. There was some difference in number 2, what rose to the top for the Project Readiness. It was to increase the safety of the transportation system for motorized and non-motorized users, while at the Policy Board, the number 2 was to improve the resiliency and reliability of the transportation system and reduce or mitigate stormwater impacts of surface transportation. And then number 3, again, was consistent. We saw increase the accessibility and mobility of people and for freight. So those were kind of our top 3 for both groups. We also asked about the former project evaluation form. Overall, we see fair, a little bit of poor in both groups. So we know that there's room for improvement. We talked about which categories worked. We saw kind of multimodalism rise to the top in our policy board's response. And then when we asked about which goals and strategies should be implemented, I know we had talked at the former presentation about regional plans, state plans, federal plans. We really see that this region, both groups, prioritize regional alignment. And then project readiness really wanted us to align more with the state goals and strategies or plans, and then the policy board federal, which I think our elected officials probably have a great understanding of the federal programs available to help serve our region. And then when we kind of went into the regional plans themselves, we saw some very different responses throughout the groups. Here in Project Readiness, you see active transportation plan rises to the top. The CMP that Clarissa just presented on earlier was second place for both Project Readiness and for the policy board. So again, you saw congestion management as a high priority. And then the policy board actually had transit development plan as their number 1 response for incorporating regional plans into this project prioritization process. And then we see a little bit of freight. We went back to the technical advisory committee for this question, and we saw active transportation plan back on the top with safety. So that was kind of interesting to see how the different groups prioritize. One thing that was very consistent was that all 3 groups agreed that the project should be evaluated for prioritization before entering the tip from the MTP. So that was consistent through all 3 groups, and the technical advisory committee actually agreed with those results. And so other considerations that I'd like to kind of highlight, I know it's really small for you to see, but we talk about the project. Some of the feedback was project ranking process reevaluated. So they do want us to reevaluate that. I think something that we need to discuss with the 2050 MTP team is this comment here, which says reference in subscores from other rankings such as the CMP, PM1, 2, and 3. And so that there's linkages to those requirements, but it avoids shoehorning everything into one form. The policy board was more consistent in that you saw a lot of completed environmental assessment, environmental approved. So, a lot of that feedback was that we need to consider those evaluation approvals as part of this. You also saw a little bit of, we talk about validating in the question itself, but they want more proof and understanding of commitments. The other thing that I think the technical advisory came in and said, we shovel ready. It should be data driven. A documented process is something that was very clear in the feedback we got. We have a couple of questions here. And then overall, let's follow the elected officials' priorities, which I couldn't agree more with. The rest of the slides that you have in your packet are for reference only in case this was kind of what was presented last month, and it goes over our 2025 fiscal year programmed projects. And again, I'm looking for a short list of projects to obligate $63 million. And so far, we're seeing the 3 Cameron County projects may be able to obligate those $63 million that we need. But again, this kind of goes back to reiterating what I mentioned last month. So at this time, I'll take any questions you may have. I know it's a lot.
Any questions? Thank you very much for that report. Appreciate it, Ms. Garcia. Information only, so no action needed. Item D, TJKM SS4A Comprehensive Plan Initial Project Status.
Afternoon, board members. Before I start, there is a stress reliever squishy traffic cone for y'all to take. It's right next to your tablets.
Should have said that at the beginning of the meeting.
Yeah.
We distributed these during our public outreach events as well. So I'll briefly introduce the project and the role of the policy. and some of the project goals. Then Ayan from the TGKM team will continue with the presentation. The RGVMPO was awarded SS4A funding to develop a regional comprehensive safety action plan for all modes of transportation. The policy board will be playing a role in developing and identifying the safety initiatives and strategies for all modes of transportation within the RGV by providing valuable input with the region so that we can define a safety action plan that enhances safety. Some of the project goals is to systemically implement proven safety solutions, initiatives, policies, and programs to eliminate preventable fatal and severe collisions by 2050, to utilize a multifaceted approach that spans jurisdictions and encompasses diverse strategies, including engineering, education, and enforcement, to implement improvements that promote and support safe travels for vulnerable users, and to ensure that multimodal safety investments are made in a manner that is fair and equitable for all residents. Now I'll hand it over to Nayan from the TGKM team to go over the scope of work.
Good afternoon, Board. Thanks, Melanie. So the scope of the work for developing the comprehensive safety action plan for Rio Grande Valley includes evaluating the existing condition, developing the vision and goal for the comprehensive safety action plan, a data-driven collision analysis, and then identify short-term, long-term, and midterm projects, taking into consideration equity and community engagement, and finally develop the safety action plan. The schedule is on the screen. We started working on the project in March 2024, and we anticipate to be back in front of this board to adopt the comprehensive safety action plan by March 26th, 2025. Over the last couple of months, we have been holding some public meetings within the RGVMPO areas. We have formed a steering committee as well as a bicycle and pedestrian advisory committee meeting to be involved in the project. And we have made presentations to the steering committee, bicycle pedestrian advisory committee, as well as the technical advisory committee. As a part of the community outreach, a web page has been developed and hosted on the RGVMPO website with an interactive map input platform where the community and the stakeholders can provide input on the issues, what they have been facing and what they would like to address. Based on the feedback, what we have received as of now on the platform, 22% of the feedback received were related to sidewalks, missing sidewalks or the conditions of the sidewalks. 13% were related to speeding and 10% were related to unsafe driving, as well as the design aspects of the multimodal infrastructure. We have also started conducting a preliminary analysis. We have collected last 10-year data starting from January of 2014 through December of 2023 from the TextDot database. And over the last 10 years, there has been a total of 88,000 plus collisions within the RGVMPO jurisdiction, which included 253 fatalities and approximately 1,400 life-changing injuries. The map, what I have it in front of you and on the screen. Identifies what we have found as a part of the collision analysis. One of the key things I would like to highlight is that the cause of collision out of those, for those 88,000, 32% of them were related to unsafe speed. 29% were related to the right of way for the automobiles. And then it involved 4% pedestrians and 2% bikes. And surprisingly, 72% of these collisions occurred during daylight, which tells us that we don't have too many serious issues with the safety of the infrastructure during nighttime, but it's during the daytime where there has been a lot of collisions that have occurred. The fatality and the serious injuries which occurred, they 56% of them occurred within a speed zone of 30 miles and above, and 13% of them occurred within the speed zones of 40 miles and above. The map, what you have in front of you or on the screen, highlights the locations for the fatality and the serious injuries within the RGVMPO area. As we can see it, that most of the fatalities and serious injury collisions occurred within the urban and the suburban areas of the MPO. Illustration of the fatal and serious injury collisions related to the bicyclist within the MPO, and similarly for the pedestrian mode. The next steps on the project is to start identifying the high injury network and identify the strategies and the improvements that can be implemented within the MPO to enhance safety for all modes of transportation. With that, we would like to open it up for any questions you may have.
Any questions? Anything else on your presentation? Okay, thank you very much.
We
Yes, ma'am.
just have the second update in January, just.
Okay, thank you so much. Item E, the RGVMPO Executive Director's reports and updates. Mr. Medina.
Board members, in your packet, there should be. So this is a spreadsheet that outlines all the activities within the MPO, and more specifically, we can just zoom in into the lower half end, please. Is the allocation as through our Unified Planning Work Program. And so as you see, it's broken up into 2 years where we're showing for 1 fiscal year and then going into the second year. So from a planning perspective, we're within budget, but what I would also like to mention is that it is the best interest of the MPO to look at these planning activities within the respective tasks so that we understand the need. In the upcoming weeks or so, we're going to have the federal partners here, and we're going to be going through the federal review. And so one of the things here is that whatever is recommended, or if there is a finding, I would strongly suggest that we re-examine the UPWP so that we can reallocate some of this funding to address those issues. So just in the event that there is some recommendation that comes from the federal partners, is that there is capacity within our UPWP to adjust. So if there's any questions with regard to the UPWP and its funding.
Are you concerned that we may not have the ability to adjust?
No, I think we do have the capacity. Yes, sir. But I just wanted to point this out since we're going from 1 fiscal year into the next one now. Other item is the Therafer plan. It's not in here? Okay. So I do apologize, but it's not in your packet, but in the 2024 Therafer plan process is that we are currently looking at having a submission deadline from December 2024. I'll make sure that I get this all to the policy board members. And then here is that in February of 2025, there'll be a presentation to the TAC and to the policy board. In March 2025, we will present this to the County Commissioners Court. Then followed in April of 2025, any amendments to the Therafer plan that apply to the UMAP. And then we'll come back in August of 2025 and do the annual Therafer plan amendment process. One of the things that I briefly spoke to staff about here is that the role of the major thoroughfare plan. Every municipality, county has a major thoroughfare plan, and this is actually kind of new to me that an MPO has a major thoroughfare plan to this level. So one of the things here is that when during this week, when I talk to staff, is to understand the actual role that the MPO is playing in terms of the thoroughfare plan. So for example, what I'm referring to is that the MPO doesn't have zoning capacity. If there is a developer that comes in and wants to have a variance on a roadway, the MPO doesn't have the capacity to grant that, correct? But what I do understand from staff is that our role is to provide the technical assistance. So if we have mapping capacity, certainly we will provide and continue to provide that service. But I just want to make sure that as we move through time, if there's any adjustments that we need to further redefine or define the role of the MPO and the thoroughfare plan, I would open that up to the policy board. The next summary item I have is number 3, and this deals with the upcoming November and December meetings. I have been advised, right, that we will have a TAC meeting on November 4th, and then followed by the policy board meeting on November 11th. If there's any questions or comments.
December.
December. So I'm sorry, December. Thank you.
So no meeting for clarification.
Yeah,
No, meeting November.
Mayor had pointed out that they're
The agenda says
November
next
27th.
meeting, but
Okay.
I think we're clarifying that it's only in December.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
No, it's
No.
December.
December. December 4th and 11th.
So the 4th is attack
Yes.
and the 11th is the policy board.
Yeah, so,
Thank you.
so if I may, we have
December.
another deadline to meet by December the 6th. So for your consideration, if we can have a special meeting on December the 4th, have the TAC meeting in the morning, in the afternoon, have the policy board meeting so that we can get the category 2 mobility projects that we're going to be submitting for consideration in the 2026 UTP approved so that we can proceed with that whole process. This is a very similar process like we did last year when we submitted the 2025 UTP, the projects that we just approved earlier. We actually approved those back in December of last year. And so we will need to meet this deadline as well. So for consideration, December the 4th special meeting would be appreciated.
So does anybody have any objections or conflicts that we need to be made aware of for December 4th? I think
Well, that's what I'm saying.
that is the
That's what I'm
proposal.
recommending.
It would just be on the 4th, not the 11th.
Yeah, so
On the 4th.
the date that was proposed was the 11th. And so the reason it's special is because we're moving it up. So the policy board meeting moved up to December the 4th in the afternoon is what we're proposing.
Yeah, so it'd just be one meeting.
It would just be one meeting. And no
No,
special
that's
meeting.
it. On the 4th.
On the 4th. TAC meeting in the morning, policy board meeting in the afternoon. No special meeting.
There you go. So just one meeting in December on the 4th, TAC in the morning, policy in the afternoon, in order to be able to comply with your category 2 money schedules and submissions. We good with that?
Yes, sir.
You guys can send reminders and calendar invites. All right.
The final item in terms of the executive director report is the certification review. As I had mentioned before, the federal team will be here on December 5th and the 6th. They are asking for board members, and I believe specifically they're inquiring about the chair and the vice chair be interviewed. Of course, that opens it up to the
What day is
entire.
Congratulations, Commissioner.
I'll be back. When is it?
This would be on December 6th for the interview. On December 5th in the afternoon, what they're also advocating is for there to be a roundtable discussion. I believe staff is working with those that are of interest in terms of transportation to participate in that role as well. I think if there's a third member that would like to be interviewed, certainly this would be an only interview between the elected official and the team as well.
I think in fairness to Commissioner Torres, I would probably sit in on that.
Very well, sir. I believe so. I will certainly circle back with you to understand in terms of the roundtable invitation.
Any other questions or comments? I would just ask that you advise us, like, give us a little bit better summary
Yes, sir.
of the deadlines and the dates and all these meetings that are happening and those that are required and those that are voluntary. Just give some clarification on that.
Will do.
Any other comments, questions? Okay. Was that it for your TMA?
Yes, sir.
Certification? All right. Then we'll move on to item F, TechStat project status report. Just when's the interchange gonna open, man? Like, now you guys have done great. It looks like the lanes are opening up.
Yeah, so
Alright,
she
come there.
mentioned to me earlier today that it was an easy peasy drive to get to the policy board today from Stark County. So thank you for those comments. Greatly
Yeah.
appreciated. We're opening up. Obviously, westbound is already open for the most part. And we added just another lane this week that we opened up on the eastbound direction. I mean, our goal is to have this thing up and complete by December 2024.
That's awesome.
Just to be clear, December
Thank you.
2024.
Thank you. Everything else is good.
Okay, okay, good. The slides aren't popping up.
What we have in our package is just that schedule.
Yeah, well, I can tell you about it. So for FM 1015 South, the limits are from I-2 to a little bit south of mile 8. The contractor is currently working on the east portion of the roadway. They've scarified and they're working on the lime treated subgrade. For FM 1015 North, the contractor is also working on the east portion of the roadway. Right now, they're working from mile 8 to I-2. They've already finished the lime treated subgrade, the cement treated flex space. They're working on the curb and gutter along those limits, and when that's done, they'll go ahead and they'll pave. And then for FM 1925, which is Monte Cristo, the limits from 907 to Sharp Road, the contractor's working on the north portion of the roadway. They're installing our trunk line and the inlets. And for the completion for FM 1015 South, we're 36% complete. It's the contractor's Texas Cordia Construction, and we should be complete August 2025, weather permitting. For FM 1015 North, the contractor's Ream Construction Incorporated, percent completion's at 28%, and we should be completed by April 2025. For Monte Cristo, we're currently at a 25% completion. The contractor's Asago Construction, and we should be finished by December 2025, weather permitting. Any questions?
Anything along the airport or that? Harlingen? Is that a
Cameron
different?
County is coming up next, so
Oh,
we can
okay.
ask the
Sorry.
folks in San Benito.
Sorry. Just trying to give equal reps to my Cameron County folks.
Yes, of course. So that would be our I-69 ramp reversal project. That one's from limits to, Industrial Boulevard to Loop 499 in Primera. We're currently at 80% and it should be completed by December 2024. At the moment, they are completed with the northbound and southbound installation of Minivan guard fence. And they have completed on the frontage road coming northbound, the overlay and the striping. So they have completed that. They're scheduled to be working on the southbound frontage on the next 2 weeks. For SH4, the concrete pavement in Bronzeville from I-69E, the frontage to SH48, we are currently at 23% complete. Posilico Civil, it's our contractor, and it's estimated to be completed in March 2026. At the moment, they have completed phase 1, which is from the frontage all the way to Taft Street, and they completed their eastbound concrete pavement. They're still working on sidewalks and
the areas along the line on the eastbound. And they will be moving forward to phase 2 in the next 2 weeks as well. Thank you. You guys have any questions?
Yeah, Highway 48 from the Port of Brownsville to Port Isabel
Yes.
is quickly deteriorating. Do y'all have any plans for an overlay or something in there? There's starting to be chunks of pavement falling out. And I would think this time of year when the tourists aren't really going to the island as much would be a good time to look at doing some work out there. Pete, if there's any plans.
So Frank, we maintain our roadways, so we provide a safe and traversable roadway system. If anything comes up, we go do emergency repairs. Wintertime is typically not conducive, if you will, to do seal coats and overlays and things of that nature because of the change in temperatures. But we'll continue to monitor that area. We'll continue to work with Cameron County and your CCRMA staff. We've identified some projects out there that we're going to be working towards. So we'll continue to monitor and maintain as needed to make sure it's safe and traversable.
Yeah, I know we have the master plan, but that's gonna be a ways off, so just
No.
trying to do stuff in between.
Yeah, no, our staff rides roads on a regular basis. But if you all see any problems, feel free to reach out to us and let us know. We'll address them. Okay. Andres, anything else that you'd like to add on that? Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have Stark County projects as well. I believe it's on the next slide.
Looks up. Yeah, this is a
Thank
first.
you.
Ooh,
So
there you go.
So this is Emanino Chiza from the from the Roma area office. And so Stark County's in the house and we'll provide an update on Stark County. Thank you, Emma.
thank you for having the presentation. Okay, so first we have US 83. Yes, from 0.3 miles from Margarito Road to Loma Blanca Road. Right now, we're currently on phase 1 of this project, is estimated to be completed on April 2027, and this is for a divided highway. And right now, they're currently working on excavation and embankment. Next, we have FM 755, which is from FM 1017 to 2294. And the estimated completion date is November 2026. And this one's a Super 2. And currently, they're working on the prep right away.
Thank you. Questions? You good?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Salvador Aranda with the Design Support Section. I'll be presenting some design updates on bridge projects. Start off the FM 491 bridge over Willacy County or Willacy Main Drain. Environmental is in progress. We are anticipating a CE document. No right-of-way acquisition is being anticipated or needed in the bridge area. Utilities, we're pending the suit and we are at 95% PS&E. Design is being done in-house and a letting date of September 2025. Tower Road in Hidalgo County, Precinct 2. Environmental right-of-way utilities and PS&E is in progress with a letting date in September 25. Valley View Road in Hidalgo County, Precinct 2. Environmental right-of-way utilities and PS&E is in progress as well, and it's letting together with Tower Road. Mile 1 West Road in Hidalgo County, Precinct 1. Environmental is in progress. Right-of-way, we are affecting 6 parcels, and we are currently coordinating with Hidalgo County, Precinct 1, as well as utilities. We're coordinating with them. We're pending 2 utilities to be relocated, which is the North Alamo and Magic Valley. PS&E is at 95% and letting in January 25. Mile 17.5 North Road in Hidalgo County, Precinct 1. Environmental is in progress. 4 parcels are being affected. Again, we're coordinating with the Hidalgo County, Precinct 1. They're aware of these utilities. No utilities are being impacted. 95% in PS&E and we're letting in 2025 of January. Loma Blanca Road in Starr County Precinct 2, we have 2 bridges here. Environmental is in progress. No acquisition of right-of-way is required. Utilities, there's none identified out there. We are 95% PS&E, design being done in-house, and it's also letting in January 25. Minnesota Avenue with the city of Brownsville, environmental is in progress. 2 parcels are affected, and we are coordinating with Brownsville. Utilities, I believe there's 4 utilities being impacted, and as well, we're coordinating with the city of Brownsville. PS&E is at 30%, and we are letting in August 2025. Brown Avenue with Cameron County Precinct 1. Environmental is in progress. Right away, we're affecting 4 parcels, and we're coordinating with Cameron County. Utilities, we're affecting 4, and also coordination with Cameron County is ongoing. PS&E is at 30%, and we are letting in September 2025. Stanger Road with the city of San Benito, environmental is in progress. No acquisition of right-of-way is anticipated or needed. Utilities, we are in progress where there's some overhead electrical. PS&E is at 60%, and we're coordinating with CCRMA, letting in August 2025. Questions?
Any questions? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Anybody else from TxDOT? That's it. All right. Thank you very much. Item G, Cameron County RMA Project Status Report. Mr. Pete? Going the wrong way.
All right, I got it. Took me a while, class of 86, it took me a little while. Yeah, Chairman, good afternoon, policy committee members. I'll be brief. You know, we're working on 20 some odd projects, so I'll only hit on the major ones. So the veterans expansion project, this was a DAP project. Construction is completed. So I'll remove this project from our next presentation. We're done. CBP is testing the additional 4 lanes that we provided. So hopefully here in the next month or so, those 4 lanes can be fully operational once all the technology is in place. 550 Gap 2 project, we had previously cleared the project environmentally. So we're going through a much simpler environmental process. The design is 95% complete. We're coordinating with Union Pacific since we go over their main line. Utilities have been relocated and right-of-way is in place. So we should be, as soon as we get environmental clearance, we should be ready to move to the construction phase. East Loop, there's an international trade corridor. We continue to work on the environmental document. We're trying to finalize a land swap with U.S. Fish and Wildlife. Once we get environmental clearance, then we'll begin right-of-way acquisition. As a matter of fact, we've got funding in place, so we might start and do some early right-of-way coordination so that we can be prepared once we get environmental clearance on the project. Florida de Mayo Bridge, we're working on the NEPA process. This is a future proposed bridge on the west side of Brownsville and Matamoros. We do have a presidential permit for this project. Free Trade Bridge, we're doing a DAP project. We are remodeling the export lot for CBP. Hopefully this will allow for dual inspection between U.S. Customs and Mexican Customs. The project is funded, fully funded by Cameron County. Old Dallas Road, we just finished affording an opportunity to the public for a public hearing. We received no requests. So we are moving forward. We should get environmental clearance in the next 30 to 60 days. The right-of-way is in place. Utilities have been relocated. So we should be able to go to construction in the very near future. Dana Avenue, doing the preliminary engineering. Environmental is cleared. And we will move from a schematic preliminary engineering to the final PS&E. FM 509, we've got consultants on board that are working on the NEPA process and the schematic for this project. Same thing for this project. This would go from Business 77 to FM 508. This is an on-system TxDOT project, but through a donation to TxDOT, we're working on this project. Same thing for FM 1846 Williams Road. In the San Benito area, it's a donation project to TxDOT since it is a non-system project. SH 104, this previously was a second causeway project. TxDOT has taken over the environmental, and they're working on the environmental clearance for the EIS that is required by the NEPA process. We about a year and a half ago, we got a $6 million grant from FRA to do a rail relocation project in downtown Harlingen. So we're moving forward with UP and their consultant and FRA to do a final design on this project. South Parallel Corridor Phase 3. This is the last phase. Project is under design. We've got about 60% PS&E. We do have one major utility relocation with AEP. We should enter into an agreement with AEP in the next couple of weeks. The right-of-way is in place for this project. The environmental had previously been cleared. It will not require a reevaluation, but we will need a much simpler environmental process before we can proceed. West Boulevard, again, we've got a consultant going through the NEPA process. 281 connector, the same thing. We're doing an alternative analysis, and we'll go through the NEPA process. Whipple Road, we're transitioning from preliminary engineering schematic to the final PS&E, and this is in the Los Fresnos area. It'll connect FM 1847 to FM 1575. Outer Parkway, we're doing a selection process for a consultant to go through the NEPA process. Morrison Road, same thing. We've got a consultant on board that will begin the NEPA process. This sidewalk project that we're completing in the Los Fresnos area, and then the Los Fresnos Hike and Bike Trail, it's a separate sidewalk project that we're handling for the city of Los Fresnos. Stenger Road, you mentioned TxDOT, you mentioned that earlier. We're coordinating this project in San Benito with TxDOT. And then Primero Road, we're going through preliminary engineering NEPA process for their sidewalk improvements. We're completing a study in Northern Cameron County for rail safety and reutilization of the existing rail right-of-way. Should have a completed study in the next 60, 90 days to present to the county and the city of Harlingen. A couple of weeks ago, we presented recommendations on a master plan for State Highway 48. We presented that to TxDOT since State Highway 48 is a non-system road. Soon as we hear back from TxDOT, we will finalize the study and then proceed accordingly with guidance from TxDOT. If you're familiar with the direct connectors in Brownsville for State Highway 550, we've got direct connectors going from the Port of Brownsville to Harlingen, and then from Harlingen to the Port of Brownsville. We've done a preliminary analysis on direct connectors from the port to Brownsville, and then from Brownsville into the port. So we will finalize this report and present it to our board of directors probably in the November board meeting. Finally, we continue to advocate for US 77 until we get a full seamless interstate corridor from Corpus to the Rio Grande Valley. Toll projects, last week we went live on one lane at the Veterans Bridge. So we are fully operational with HECTRA, Harris County Toll Road Authority. So our Fuego tag now operates at the Veterans Bridge. The Easy tag from Harris County Toll Road Authority does as well. Tomorrow, I believe that the Texas Transportation Commission has an item on their agenda to approve an agreement between TxDOT and the Harris County Toll Road Authority to where HECTRA will now handle the text tag. So TxDOT will also be interoperable at our international bridges. The plan is to go live November 15 with all our international bridges in Cameron County. So that concludes my presentation, Chairman.
Great job, Pete. Thank you all very much. Cameron County, congratulations. Letter H, Hidalgo County RMA.
Good afternoon, Ramon Navarro, Chief Construction Engineer for the Hidalgo County Regional Mobility Authority. On behalf of the RMA, sir, Chairman Fuentes, we'd like to thank you for your dedication and your leadership. And Mr. Medina, welcome to the 956. We look forward to working with you and confronting all these challenges we got before us. All right.
Opportunity.
We did have a chairman reappointed by the governor. Mr. Roberto Lozano is our new chair. Mr. Dianda has stepped down and he will be taking over at our next board meeting of November. And just wanted to share that information with you. It is a reprioritization year, and we are looking at the loop. We've got about approximately 90 miles of centerline projects we need to put in play. These are all contingent of mega projects, looking at $400 to $300 million to $1.2 billion projects. The committee, the board will be holding workshops in November and December, looking at data, traffic, feasibilities, et cetera, to set the priorities for the next 2 years. And we are willing to entertain any concerns or interests from outside groups at those workshops. The further information can be located on our website at www.hcrma.net. Looking at the oversized corridor that we do administer for TxDOT for the month of September, we issued 4,945 permits, bringing in approximately $1,010,756. You can see the distribution of funding. The graphical analysis of the crossings show that we maintain a healthy crossing number over last year's. Looking at the year, we've issued 57,588 permits. You can see how the funding worked out there. And since its conception, the program has collected $65,979,104. And the majority of that going to TxDOT to be able to put back into border infrastructure for improving the corridors and the lanes. Looking at the 365 toll project, this is the one project we do have in construction. We are constructing, or we have 3 projects in construction simultaneously. The first one being the wetland mitigation site. This is a 23-acre wetland that we are building. The project was issued to MITRES. They are a national mitigation firm out of Plano, Texas. Well, their Texas office is in Plano. And it's approximately a $4.5 million project. We look forward to final acceptance on this on February 14th of 2025. LDs are $1,000, and they've got 180 days, calendar days, to construct this. This is just the site to familiarize yourselves. It's about 1.2 miles south of Granjeno. This is a picture from the south levee looking south. You can see the Rio Grande and the tree lines where they have cleared. They've established, this is looking north, you can see Granjeno. They have established a pretty sustainable, durable field office. It's a it's an old cart or an old train vessel with some windows in it. This is the well that we will be rejuvenating and hopefully get some water out there to sustain the plants and all of the wetland out there when rain is not readily available. 365, we are also doing the toll collection integration project, which is going to be providing the infrastructure for the electronic collection systems. That project is approximately $14.4 million, and we're timely on that. As far as the heavy highway project, we let that project in. Notice to proceed was issued in in March 17th of 2022, and we have 1,264 calendar days to construct this. Puts it up at November 21st, 2025. We've issued 13 change orders. The bottom line is we've got a lot of work before us. We've got about 43 weeks left in time, and we've got about 43% of production to produce in these 43 weeks. We have issued out approximately $140 million in this project. And we continue to do the work with our partners at the irrigation structures, with the irrigation structures at the irrigation districts, rip wrapping, retaining walls, slabs. We did place our final slab on segments 1 and 2 of the floodway bridge. That is completed. And we continue our night operations of our continuously reinforced concrete paving and laying the cement treated base. This is looking west from McCall Avenue. This is the midpoint of the project. And this concludes my report. Any issues or concerns I may entertain at this time?
Any questions? Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Moreno.
you.
Thank you. As you can see, I'd never wanted this meeting to end. But we are down to the last agenda item. Item I, transit status report. You don't
Hi,
look
good
like Robert De Leon, though.
No. Our apologies. He wasn't able to make it, but he sent me in his place. So, good afternoon. My name is Sandy Phillips from Metro McAllen. I will be presenting the Regional Transit Report for October 2024. So between all agencies, B Metro, Island Metro, Metro McAllen, and Valley Metro, we have a combined ridership of 3,204,872 passengers riding with us. These are a few transit agency updates. So for B Metro, their Tiger Bus Yard project, substantial completion updated to mid-November 2024 due to rain delays. Their ribbon cutting is set for February 2025. Their microtransit study, they're moving forward with a rewarding contract, and their fare increase went into effect October 1st. Island Metro is 100% done with their new bus shelter projects, with all stops now open to the public. Their multimodal facility received its LEED certification plaque. Metro McAllen, we launched our GoPass app on June 18th. This allows users to purchase fares with their smartphone. Our full launch of our system expansion was initiated on July 29th, with 12 routes now operating. We partnered with Rideco, Uber for paratransit and microtransit when we have overflow. So internal testing is underway. We have plans for faster headways in the next several months. Valley Metro. Their Valley Metro RGV mobile app was introduced on September 16th, 2024. This marked a significant step forward in enhancing public transportation services. They also received TxDOT 5310 funding for year 2 of the 5310 call for projects. Funding will be used for acquisition of farebox collection equipment and one Type 3 expansion vehicle for small urban. Their service expansion program, Valley Metro was awarded a first round of rural funding for a service expansion project targeting Willacy, Star, and Zapata counties demands response service. They will be serving this area from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Their vehicle overhaul. TxDOT 5339 funding was awarded for a vehicle overhaul project, which consists of overhauling 11 rural area vehicles. So these are some statistics from B Metro. I was looking it over really quick. So there are 12 routes. We do see an increase from July to September in every route. So these are just some of the stats if you have it in your pack. Their project update for the Jose Colunga Bus Yard Rehab Project. These are some of the pictures, that we will be looking over in their blueprints of the facilities. Metro McAllen GoPass app launched June 18th. Now users can pay on the app for their bus fare. They get on the bus, they show it to the driver, they're able to board the bus. You can also load with your supporting businesses like Dollar General, Walgreens, Family Dollar on your GoPass wallet. You can purchase your transit passes, plan your trip, receive notifications, and personalize your experience with your account. On July 29th, we launched our new system redesign and service expansion. It's part of a short-range transit plan to realign McAllen's transit system to make it more efficient and effective, making it more attractive for the community to use. We're trying to meet the increasing demand from a rapidly growing city and its ridership for better connectivity to new locations. So we're trying to allow the customers to reach their places faster, hopefully have them reduce the reliance on their own personal vehicles. Metro McAllen now offers 12 fixed routes, paratransit and microtransit via Micro McAllen. As of August 3rd, we now provide service on Sundays from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So Connect McAllen, our partnership with RideCo recently afforded us the opportunity for an Uber integration. What this means is that we can now turn on Uber Overflow for both paratransit and microtransit, hoping to provide a positive rider experience, cost saving, allow gradual growth, and better on-time performance. Valley Metro RGV app, now available on App Store and Google Play. Stay connected with Valley Metro. Your next bus ride just got a lot easier. Conveniently purchase passes, time and cost efficiency, and instant access to tickets. So you have your QR code if you'd like to download it. The LRGVDC Valley Metro introduced their Get the Vote Out initiative. Your right to vote, free rides with your voter registration card. Early voting October 21st through November 1st. So get out there and vote with them. LRGVDC Valley Metro Service Expansion Project, serving the areas of Willacy County, Zapata, and Starr County. Valley Metro Service Expansion Project. Their public outreach events began in June 2024 and have steadily continued. Their surveys were created for both Zapata and Willacy County. Their QR codes and links were made to make the surveys available via tablet, phone, or computer, shared via social media, print, and posted in local businesses. On September 18th, 2024, it was activated to extend the hours and meet demand in Willacy, Starr, and Zapata counties. Any questions or concerns?
Nice job. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and with that, we'll go to item 6, other business, which I think is just to announce that our policy board meeting will be December 4th at a normal time, 1:30. Yeah, most likely at 1:30, but we'll be waiting for some official or formal communication from you guys. Other than that, is there any other business? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, let me just, 3 points real quick. Just want to congratulate Frank Parker on being reappointed by the governor to the CCRMA chairman position. Obviously, again, want to welcome Mr. Medina. I think you had a great first meeting. And more on a professional and personal level, I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioner. It's been a pleasure working with you. Looking forward to working with your colleague. But you've done all of us proud, and it's been an honor getting to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Any other business? There being none, it is now 3:20 and we will adjourn this meeting. Thank you.